You didn't struggle your way here like everyone else. You didn't beg the universe for permission. You didn't burn yourself out trying to prove your worth. You arrived at level 777 because it was coded into your spirit before you were ever born. While others were sweating, forcing, chasing validation, you moved calmly, almost effortlessly, through storms that would have destroyed weaker souls. People misunderstand this about you. They think ease means luck. They think calm means ignorance. They think silence means weakness. But what they don't realize is that true mastery doesn't scream. True power doesn't rush. True elevation happens when pressure no longer controls you, and that's exactly where you are now. Level 777 isn't about ego, it's about alignment. It's the moment when your mind, soul, and destiny stop arguing with each other. You no longer question whether you're chosen, you know. And that knowing radiates through your posture, your decisions, and your energy. Even when you say nothing, people feel it. Think back to the chaos you survived, the betrayals, the loneliness, the nights when you felt unseen by God Himself. That wasn't punishment, it was training. Every tear upgraded your awareness. Every disappointment sharpened your intuition. And now, you move through life like gravity works for you. If this resonates, pause for a second. Take a breath. And if you feel this truth vibrating in your chest, like the video and subscribe to Mirror of the Soul, because this channel speaks directly to those who have reached levels others can't even imagine. What others call miracles, you call routine. What others fear, you handle casually. And that's exactly why people feel confused around you. They expected you to break. They expected you to beg. They expected you to collapse under pressure. Instead, you adjusted and kept moving. There's something unsettling about someone who doesn't panic when life tries to corner them. You didn't celebrate loudly. You didn't announce your wins. You didn't seek applause. You simply handled it. That's not arrogance. That's experience at a spiritual level most humans never reach. Your calm isn't emotional numbness, it's emotional mastery. You've already faced your worst fears internally. You've already died 1,000 times in silence. So when external chaos shows up, it feels familiar, almost boring. That's level 777 energy. There's a spiritual shift that happens when someone reaches level 777, and it's rarely talked about. The rules change. The resistance decreases. The timing becomes precise. Doors open before you even knock, not because you demanded it, but because you're trusted. Even God doesn't micromanage those who have proven their discipline. You've shown restraint when tempted, wisdom when angry, faith when confused. That's why life now responds to you instead of testing you constantly. You may have noticed this recently. Problems resolve themselves. Enemies expose themselves. Delays turn into divine reroutes. You're not chasing blessings anymore, they're catching up to you. This isn't luck. This is clearance. Your intuition is sharper now. You feel things before they happen. You sense when to speak and when to stay silent. You know when to walk away without explanation. That's spiritual authority, not taught, not borrowed, but earned. There was a time you tried to explain yourself. A time you overgave, overshared, overproved. But level 777 taught you something sacred. Energy explains everything words never could. Now you don't chase understanding. You don't argue your truth. You don't defend your growth. You let results speak. You let consistency speak. You let absence speak. And strangely enough, people finally listen. Your silence unsettles those who relied on your reactions. They don't know how to access you anymore. They can't trigger you. They can't bait you. And that's when they realize they've lost control. This level requires restraint. Power without discipline is destruction, and you learned that lesson the hard way. That's why your presence feels heavy now, not dark anchored, like something ancient walks with you. At level 777, comparison dies. Competition dissolves. You don't look sideways anymore because you're walking your own frequency. You're not trying to be better than anyone, you're trying to be aligned with yourself. People now study you quietly. They copy your tone, your pace, your mindset, but they can't replicate your core because they didn't survive what you survived. They didn't endure the isolation. They didn't pass the inner tests. You've become the reference point without trying, the calm in chaos, the steady hand, the one who doesn't react emotionally but moves strategically. That's why your presence changes rooms before you say a word. This level isn't loud, it's composed, it's watchful, it's deeply rooted. And the most dangerous thing about you now, you don't need validation anymore. Struggle didn't disappear because life got easier, it left because you graduated. There was a time when pain followed you everywhere, not to punish you, but to refine you. Every setback carried a message. Every delay held a lesson. And once you absorbed the wisdom, the resistance had no reason to stay. Most people repeat the same cycle because they resist the lesson. You didn't. You sat with the discomfort. You asked hard questions. You faced your shadows instead of running from them. That's why life stopped fighting you. You learned how to listen. Level 777 isn't about escaping hardship. It's about no longer needing it. Your soul no longer requires chaos to grow. You now expand through awareness, intention, and clarity. That's a rare level of consciousness, and it terrifies those still addicted to struggle. Notice how challenges now feel lighter, not because they're smaller, but because you're bigger. Your nervous system is calmer. Your reactions are measured. You don't spiral, you respond. That's mastery. Some people feel uncomfortable in your presence now, even when you're doing nothing. You're not judging them. You're not attacking them. You're just being. And that's enough to expose what they've been avoiding within themselves. Your awareness acts like a mirror. Around you, masks slip. Insecurities rise. Lies feel heavier. That's why some people suddenly distance themselves, become defensive, or speak negatively about you behind closed doors. Your clarity threatens their illusion. You've probably noticed this pattern. Those who are aligned feel safe with you, while those living in denial feel restless. That's not coincidence. That's energetic truth. Level 777 doesn't argue, it reveals. You're no longer available for manipulation. You sense motives instantly. You hear what's not being said, and instead of confronting, you simply withdraw. That silent withdrawal speaks louder than confrontation ever could. There are battles you never had to fight because they were stopped before reaching you. Conversations that could have destroyed your reputation that never happened. Plans against you that collapsed mysteriously. You may not see it, but you're shielded. At level 777, protection becomes subtle. You don't feel watched, you feel guided. Wrong paths suddenly feel uncomfortable. Certain opportunities lose their appeal. Some people remove themselves without explanation. That's divine filtration at work. You didn't ask for this protection. It was activated when your intentions became pure, when you stopped wishing harm, when you stopped chasing ego wins, when you chose peace over proving a point. That's when higher forces stepped in. There was a time you chased outcomes, people, and recognition, not because you were weak, but because you didn't yet know your value. Level 777 erased that hunger. Now, things come to you naturally. Opportunities align without force. People reach out unexpectedly. Solutions appear when you least expect them. You're not manifesting through obsession. You're attracting through embodiment. You are the frequency now. This is why desperation disappeared from your energy. You no longer rush timelines. You don't beg for responses. You don't cling. You trust. And that trust reshapes reality faster than effort ever could. There's a quiet sadness that comes with level 777, not depression, detachment. You've outgrown places, conversations, and versions of yourself that once felt like home, and even if you wanted to go back, you couldn't. Your eyes see too much now. Your soul refuses to pretend. Old dynamics feel draining. Old habits feel heavy. And the loneliness that comes with growth, you've learned to sit with it instead of escaping it. But here's the truth. You're not alone, you're just early. Others will catch up. Or they won't. Either way, you're no longer available for shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. This level demands authenticity. No masks, no false humility, no dimming your light. You're not here to be understood by everyone, you're here to be aligned. Tell me in the comments, what part of your old life no longer fits you, no matter how hard you try? At first, people supported you. They clapped when you were rising slowly. They encouraged you when you still doubted yourself. But the moment your confidence stabilized, when you stopped asking for approval, envy quietly replaced admiration. Not loud envy, not obvious jealousy, the dangerous kind, the silent kind that smiles while secretly helping you stumble. Your certainty became uncomfortable for those still unsure of themselves. Your peace became an accusation to their inner chaos. You didn't change, their perception did. Because now you move with authority. You trust your decisions. You no longer explain your choices. And that independence exposes who relied on your uncertainty to feel superior. This is why some people suddenly minimize your achievements. Why they say, you got lucky, or anyone could do that. They're trying to shrink what they don't understand. But your light isn't negotiable anymore. You don't raise your voice. You don't dominate conversations. You don't demand attention. Yet somehow your presence feels heavy to certain people. That's because real power doesn't announce itself, it anchors itself. You listen more than you speak now. You observe patterns. You read between words. And that awareness unsettles those who survive on manipulation or surface-level charm. Around you, they feel seen, and that's terrifying. This isn't about arrogance. It's about grounding. You're no longer easily influenced. You don't absorb other people's moods. You don't mirror insecurity. And that emotional independence makes others feel exposed. No one taught you this level of composure. No book gave you this confidence. It came from surviving moments that forced you to either collapse or evolve. And you chose evolution. Now your words carry weight, not because they're loud, but because they're intentional. When you speak, people listen. When you move, things shift. That's spiritual authority earned through endurance. You don't need to threaten. You don't need to impress. You don't need to dominate. Your certainty does the work for you. People feel it before they understand it. This is why life now consults you instead of testing you. You're trusted with influence, with insight, with responsibility, and deep down you feel it, you're being prepared for something bigger. Have you noticed how quickly things shift when you make a decision? When you choose peace, chaos fades. When you choose distance, drama disappears. When you choose clarity, confusion dissolves. That's not coincidence. That's responsiveness. At level 777, your intentions carry momentum. The universe recognizes your frequency and responds without delay. This is why half-hearted desires no longer manifest for you. Only what's aligned survives. Only what's honest stays. Anything forced falls apart quickly, saving you time, energy, and regret. Others call it luck. You call it flow. But the truth is deeper. Your inner world is organized now, and reality mirrors that order. People don't just notice you, they study you now. Not because you're loud, but because you're consistent. They want to know how you stay calm, how you don't panic, how you don't chase validation. Some admire you silently. Some envy you quietly. Some wait for you to fail just to reassure themselves. But none of that matters anymore because your focus has shifted inward. You're no longer performing for an audience. You're living in alignment. And that authenticity is rare in a world addicted to appearances. The higher you rise, the fewer explanations you owe. The quieter you become, the stronger your impact. That's the paradox of level 777. There comes a moment in a chosen one's journey when heaven goes quiet, not because you've been abandoned, but because you've been approved. The storms slow down. The constant trials stop repeating. And for the first time, life doesn't feel like an exam anymore. God no longer needs to test your patience, you've proven it. Your integrity already demonstrated. Your faith unshaken even when answers didn't come. So now, instead of correction, you receive assignment. Instead of lessons, you receive responsibility. This is why your intuition feels sharper than ever, why you feel guided instead of pushed, why doors open without struggle. You're no longer being shaped, you're being used. What once haunted you can't reach you anymore. Old wounds don't reopen. Old triggers don't control you. Old narratives don't define you. You didn't erase the past, you outgrew it. There was a time memories could knock you off balance. A single reminder could spiral your emotions. But now, you observe without bleeding. You remember without reliving. That's healing at its highest level. People from your past may try to reconnect, not because they've changed, but because you have. Your elevation calls them back like unfinished business. But you don't owe access to anyone who only knew your old version. You stopped trying to look powerful the moment you became powerful. You no longer care how you're perceived, you care how you're aligned. That shift alone separates leaders from performers. Your words now land differently. Your presence calms or awakens people without effort. Sometimes just listening to you speak rearranges something inside others. That's impact, not image. You don't need to convince. You don't need to convert. You don't need to force awakenings. Those meant to hear you will feel you. Those who don't, that's not your assignment. This is why your influence will grow quietly but deeply. You're here to plant seeds, not chase applause, and the seeds you plant will outlive you. There's something ahead of you, something you can sense but not fully see yet. A shift, a role, a moment that will place you exactly where you're meant to be. And unlike before, you're not anxious about it. You're prepared, you're grounded, you're patient, and most importantly, you're no longer afraid of your own power. That fear once kept you small. Now confidence keeps you steady. Your next move won't be rushed. It won't be announced prematurely. It will be intentional. And when it happens, people will say, it happened overnight, not knowing the years it took. Trust this phase. You're not late, you're not early. You're aligned. This isn't a phase. This isn't motivation. This isn't temporary clarity. Level 777 is a point of no return. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unknow what you know. You can't shrink without betraying yourself. Your soul has locked into its frequency. Your standards have risen. Your tolerance for chaos has dropped. And even on hard days, you'll never be who you were again. You didn't reach this level by accident. You earned it through silence, restraint, faith, and endurance. And now you carry it not as a burden but as a responsibility. So stand tall, walk gently, speak truthfully, and never doubt this. You didn't break a sweat because you were built for this height. If this message spoke to you, like, share, and subscribe to Mirror of the Soul. And answer this final question in the comments. Do you feel like your life has officially entered a higher chapter, one you can't explain but fully trust? You are seen, you are aligned, you are level 777.